G'day guys, Jason aka Elite Flight here. Just doing a bit of a benchtop review of a product I received today from Team Blacksheep. So last week or the week before I was told I'd won a prize from a Facebook competition that TBS had TBS Lounge, and the prize was a TBS Unify Pro race. So that's the Unify, which goes from 25 to 200 milliwatts, high volt, smart audio, exactly like the HV Pro, except it only goes to 200 milliwatts for racing, basically, which is fine because most of the time I only use 25 milliwatts. The only time I go higher than that is if I'm having interference or I'm flying fairly long distance, 500 meters plus. And that was really cool. Another part of that prize was that you got 3% off of any order you made at the time. Now, I had been meaning to order some, or wanting to order some stuff from TBS for quite some time, but for a variety of different reasons hadn't done it. But it looks like their shipping's come down in cost. I got the 3% discount, and I was going to have to, I believe I probably would have had to pay to get the VTX sent over. So I put in an order for some stuff that I had been looking at for a while. One of the things is this here TBS G2 frame. So today I'm going to do a benchtop review of the G2 frame. So as you can see in front of me, we've got a G2 frame. I'll talk about that a bit more in a moment. Just to start off with though, I will go through what comes with the frame kit. So the first thing you get is a long battery strap. Now I would say that is about 25-26 centimeters long, and we'll perhaps go into why that might need to be so long a bit later, but suffice to say you get a nice long battery strap. You get six of them. These aluminium 16mm 15 or 16mm M3 button head screws. Now I believe these are to hold the canopy on, and I suspect, I'm not sure what the other two are for, but this frame is designed to be used with a canopy. There are two different designs and they can be 3D printed, and I think these are designed to hold that canopy onto the frame. So there's six 15 or 16mm M3 aluminium screws. All the aluminium hardware is purple. You also get, to go with those screws, 4 M3 nylock nuts. More on those a bit later. You get 18 6mm purple aluminium M3 button head bolts. Now I believe these are for the motors, and if you're using a TBS Powercube, they are to hold on the flight stack, the Powercube stack. So there's 18 of those. So that's 4 for each motor and 2 for the stack. You get 4 brass standoffs. Now these brass standoffs, for those who aren't familiar, are the brass standoffs which are used to transmit power or ground on the TBS Powercube flight stack. So these are to be used to, if you're using a Powercube, and I think they're also to be used just generally, even if you're using a different kind of flight stack, and we'll go into why later. You get 4 5mm M2 screws. These have got a bit of Loctite on them. I believe these are for the camera mount. I'll go into those a bit more later. You get 4 thinnish black aluminium M3 screws. Now they are also to work with the flight controller stack, particularly if you're using a Powercube. You get 4 rubber landing feet. Now these are actually rubber, not, as far as I can tell, they're real dense rubber, not the foam rubber. And you get this plastic camera mount. Now this camera mount sits on top of your flight controller stack, I believe. It comes with, it's plastic, it doesn't feel like it's super durable. It comes with this back here, which I suspect is like the Alien, in that it replaces the back of the camera that you're going to use. I suspect it's designed for a HS177 or a TBS 00. So basically I believe the camera's mounting hole goes through this one here. You put this back on the camera, and these little arms go in this bottom slot here. There's a cutaway there, so the front of the camera can descend into there when the camera is tilted forward. Okay, there is also on here this little sort of cutout and these little arms here. Not really, yeah, these little arms here. Now I suspect, but I'm not 100% sure, that the idea is you slide a TBS Crossfire Micro RX through there. I suspect the two plugs, one of the plugs goes in here and the tail end of it slides out there. Now I don't know that for sure, I haven't tried it yet, but I think that's what it's for. If not, then I'll be probably putting my RX across here with some double-sided tape, but I think this is actually designed for it. That's my guess anyway. So that's what comes with the frame. So let's have a look at the frame itself. So the frame itself, there are two different versions. There's the full carbon one, and there's a full carbon version, and there's a composite version. This is the full carbon version. It's 4mm thick. It's this is a 7-inch, and it weighs 78 grams, the carbon apparently. I think that's the carbon by itself. I'll confirm that by getting these scales out. If you just pause with me for a sec, I'll grab my scales, my tiny little scales, and we'll try it out. So that's zeroed. That by itself is 75.75 grams. So basically 76 grams. Now the composite version, I believe, weighs in at around, let me just have a look, 47.5 grams. So let me explain what the composite version is. This is a 4mm carbon fibre all the way through. The composite version, however, has a thin layer of carbon at the top and a thin layer of carbon at the bottom, and in between is a composite material. It looks like cork in the photos, but I'm not sure what it is. That composite material is lighter, but I suspect a little bit less durable. Now, this frame itself has a bit of flex. It's not going to be the most durable frame in the world, but it's more durable than the composite version of the frame. So this is the full carbon version, 4mm of carbon and about 77 grams. On the website they also call this the training version, and the race version is the composite version because it's lighter. These come in 5, 6 and 7-inch. This is a 7-inch version. So let's have a look at the frame itself. So as you can see, it's not symmetrical on all sides. There is left, right. So this is the left, this is the right, this is the front, this is the rear. So basically you've got this extra spar going front, rear, and down here I think this bigger triangle where there's a bit of a cutout is designed to allow your XT60 cable to go down. So I think that's the rear. Apart from that, it's fairly symmetrical. The design principle here is aerodynamics. It's a very thin frame, so is less wind resistant, and there's less effect of the thrust being pushed down, of the air being pushed down from your props. So that's the principle of the frame. It's supposed to be stable, yet aerodynamic. So we've got a cutout here in the middle where your flight controller stack goes. You've got your standard 30, I think it's 30.5, your standard flight holes for a 35 by 35 flight controller stack. You've got these larger holes here, which I believe is where the canopy is supposed to be attached, and you've got on the corners, of course, the holes for your motors. You've got the traditional hole on the outside if you want to feed your motor wires on the outside, and then under you can do that. And on the back we'll see that the motor area has been routed out on each corner, and I believe the idea there is that your button head aluminium screw heads will sit inside that, below that routed area, and therefore be protected from banging and scraping on the ground. Not that they would get bunged and scraped on the ground most of the time anyway, because most of the time you're going to have your battery on the bottom. Now the top, where the FC goes, that's also been routed out, so your FC can sit in a little area. I'm not sure why that is in particular. I guess it saves a bit of weight. I don't think it adds any protection, but it's been routed out. I'm not sure of the design reason. You've got these two triangles on the side, and they are where your battery strap is supposed to go. So your battery strap goes in here and around like that, basically. Now, why is the battery strap so long? I believe the battery strap is long because this could be used for a long distance flight. And if that's the case, and you've got something like a 6S battery or a 5S battery, or maybe say a 4 amp battery, 4,000 milliamps, then a big fat battery strap is what you need to hold those bigger batteries on. If you don't need those, you can use any standard battery strap. So TBS give you a nice long one because that's the one that's least common and that you might need to use with this frame. That's my belief anyway. So that's the frame. It's got a camera mount. So you've got, as I say, your stack sits in there, and you optionally have a 3D printed canopy, which doesn't come with it, but it comes with the plans. Now these standoffs I said I'd talk about, because the battery strap is going through there, you can't have your flight controller stack sitting directly on the carbon because there'd be no room for the battery. So I believe these may be intended to give you a bit of standoff space there. Now if you had nylon there, that'd be pretty weak if your battery strap was moving against it. So brass gives you a bit more strength. I'm not sure if that's why they have them or not, but I think it is. Then you've got the aluminium screws, the black, where are they? M3 aluminium screws. If you're using the Powercube, well, they go with these standoffs. If you're using the Powercube, these are also the same standoffs and screws that come with the Powercube or the Powercube components. We've got these M3 nylocks, which, as I said, the canopy, I believe, screws into. So there are cutouts for these on the bottom of the frame, so I believe these go into the cutouts, and your canopy using those 16 or 15 mil M3 bolts will be screwed in from the top into those. Not sure what the other two of those bolts are for. I don't think they're just spares because they don't appear to be spares of any of the other hardware. So that's the basic frame. Now I believe, it being a TBS product, it's actually designed to be used with a Powercube. So this is the Powercube Elite bundle, which isn't really well suited for it. You know what, forget that. Let's leave that as the wrap up for this frame benchtop review. I'm kind of looking forward to building it, and I'm really looking forward to flying it because I think it's a really unique design. It's an interesting design. It's very aerodynamic design, and I think with 7-inch props, some reasonably low kV motors, and I'm thinking of 1900 2207, so 2207 1900 kV motors, but I might go lower, maybe 1700. With 7-inch props, or maybe, as I say, 1900s with 6-inch props. I think you should get a decent amount of range out of it. So I'm really excited because kind of long or free range, longer range, that's my thing lately. That's the thing I've been keen on doing, just because it's a bit more challenging than just flipping and rolling and doing tricks and whatever and doing acro. Perhaps not as challenging as racing. It's a different kind of challenge. It's kind of scary when you fly your quad off a kilometre or 2 kilometres away, or over water, or out of direct line of sight. It gets kind of scary, and I find that challenging and fun. So I'm really looking forward to putting this together, because this frame is pretty much, I believe, designed for that kind of work. That, so far, is my benchtop review of the TBS G2 full carbon frame. I hope that's been useful. The reason I've done this because I couldn't find any reviews that seemed to be really helpful, that showed me what came with the kit and gave me an idea about how the kit came together. I only had it for a couple of hours, only been unwrapped for a couple of hours, but I think I've kind of worked out most of it in broad terms anyway, maybe not the subtle intricacies. So hopefully that will be helpful to someone. I reckon I'm going to do a bit of a talk about the Powercube that I'm going to put onto it, but I'll do that in a separate video. So I hope that's been helpful, guys, and I'll see you next time. Happy flying.